Week 15 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers I would look to drop this week. The first guy, Paul Blackburn of the Oakland Athletics. So Blackburn, he got off to a great start early in the season, but the last few weeks here, he's really fell apart on the season. 101 in the third, 6-6 record, 99 hits, 49 earned runs, 22 walks, 82 strikeouts, and 4 quality starts for Blackburn with a 4.35 ERA and a 1.26 whip. But over the last few weeks here, he's totally gone in the opposite direction, and he's really struggled. 10 in the third, 0-2 record, 13 hits, 15 runs, 6 walks, 9 Ks, a 13.06 ERA for Blackburn in the last few weeks here, and a 1.84 whip. So right here, he's not getting the job done. He's on a bad team, obviously, with the Oakland Athletics, and he's in a division I know it's not that great, but he's been getting hit hard right now and really hurting fantasy owners and the Oakland A's. So he's been dropped in 5% of fantasy leagues, but surprisingly still owned in 48% of fantasy leagues. And even if he gets back on track, he's not going to get many wins. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. And I think this week he's an easy guy to drop. July 8th versus Houston, 4 innings, got the loss. 7 hits, 6 runs, a walk, 6 Ks in that one. July 13th at Texas, 6 innings, got the loss. 3 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 4 Ks in that one. And July 24th versus Texas, he got rocked, 4 1/3, got the loss, 10 hits, 10 runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. So Blackburn, the last 3 outings have been real bad for him, and he's an easy drop this week. Yeah, he could turn things around. Yeah, maybe he gets traded to a contender with obviously the A's out of it and teams looking for starting pitching. But right now, he's a guy I definitely would drop this week. The next guy, Meyer of the Miami Marlins. So Meyer, I mentioned him as a pickup last week here, but now bad news has come out with an elbow injury in his throwing arm strain, and he's going to be on the injured list here, is Meyer, and I think he's done for the season, to be honest. This Marlin team, they're obviously out of the race in the NL East and the wild card, 14 games out of the division, and I think 7 or 8 out of the wild card, or even more. So Meyer, he one of the top prospects in all Major League Baseball, and the top pitching prospect in the Marlins system. We only saw 2 outings from him. July 16th versus Philly, 5 1/3. Got the loss, 7 hits, 5 run, a walk, 5 Ks. And July 23rd at Pittsburgh, only went 2/3 of an inning before leaving with injury. A walk and a strikeout. So he finished the season overall here. Not much going on. 6 innings, 0-1. 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks, a 7.50 ERA, and a 1.50 whip. So Meyer, people had high hopes for him to join this Marlin rotation and be a good add with these guys, but that just hasn't been the case here for him. And unfortunately, he's out with injury. With Dynasty and Keeper Leagues, maybe you keep him. But redraft leagues, you drop him easily, and next season, you take a flyer on him. And hopefully he don't need Tommy John, but right now it's just an elbow strain. And with the Marlins out of contention, there's no reason they're going to push him or rush him back, and he's an easy drop this week. The next guy is Kremer of the Baltimore Orioles. So Kremer, he was a good story early in the season, but now I think the league's caught up to him a little bit over the last few weeks. On the season, 47 innings, 3-2 record, 48 hits, 16 runs, 13 walks, 38 strikeouts, 2 quality starts, 3.06 ERA, a 1.30 whip. But over the last few weeks here, he hasn't generated much for fantasy owners. 9 1/3, 0-1 record, 13 hits, 7 runs, a walk, 8 Ks, a 6.75 ERA, and a 1.5 whip here for Kremer. So Kremer, he was a hot pickup 4 or 5 weeks ago, but the last few outings here, he's done nothing really for fantasy owners in this Baltimore team. And this team is starting to fizzle out a little after winning 10 in a row, and obviously they're in a tough division in the AL East with the Yankees, the best team in the league. Toronto Blue Jays, you got the Rays, you got the Red Sox, even though they might trade some guys at the deadline. But anyway, it's going to be tough for Kremer to get things going. And also, he's a guy that's a mediocre pitcher. You don't have the greatest of stuff. July 9th versus the Angels, 5 inning, got the win. 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. July 16th at Tampa, 4 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 Ks in that one. And July 24th versus the Yankees, 5 1/3, got the loss. 5 hits, 4 runs, a walk, and 6 Ks. So right here, not going deep into games. Only a few quality starts in the season here for Kremer. And a tough division and teams starting to hit him is a recipe for disaster. And he's been dropped in 13% of fantasy leagues. And this week here, I would drop them. Next guy's Tanner Scott of the Miami Marlins. So right here, he's been the closer for a few months here, Scott. But he's really been up and down, and he hasn't done much to go on a roster spot, I think. 40 and 2/3, 4-4 record, 12 saves, 31 hits, 20 earned runs, 28 walks, 58 strikeouts, and 4 blown saves on the season with a 4.43 ERA and a 1.45 whip. But over the last few weeks here for him, that ERA is a 7.20 with a 2.40 whip in 5 innings with an 0-1 record, 6 hits, 4 runs, 6 walks, 4 Ks, and a blown save. So right here, we've seen him blown some saves over the last few weeks here, especially 3 out of 4 ball games for Tanner Scott. And this Marlin team not going anywhere this season. They're not winning a lot of games as it is. So right now, with them not winning games, them in a tough division, and Scott struggling, no wonder he's been dropped in 5% of fantasy leagues. And I would drop him this week. I know a closer is a closer, but it's a lot of crapshoot type of guys this season. And Scott is one of them. And in 10-team leagues, for sure I would drop Scott, and most likely in 12-team leagues as well this week. And the final pitcher I look to drop this week's Aroldis Chapman of the New York Yankees. So Chapman, he hasn't been the closer for a few months now with this Yankee team, but surprisingly still owned in 80% of fantasy leagues, which I think is a waste on the season. 20 and a third, 0-3 record, 9 saves, 17 hits, 13 earned runs, 17 walks, 24 strikeouts over the last month here. 6 and a third, 0-1 record, 4 hits, 7 runs, 7 walks, 9 Ks, a 9.95 ERA in the last month, and a 1.74 whip. So right here on the season, overall a 5.75 ERA and a 1.67 whip. So Chapman, he's had control issues over the last few seasons. The Yankees here, they've went a different direction, obviously, at the closer position, and they're not going to get away from it with Clay Holmes. I think he's going to remain the closer the rest of the season. Chapman's just been erratic. And even the other night versus the Baltimore Orioles, July 22nd, he went a third of an inning, gave up a 3-run homer, a walk, and a strikeout in that one, and cost the Yankees the ball game pretty much in the late innings. So right now, he's not getting saves. He's hurting you in whip. His ERA's been high this season, but he's just a name at this point who could still throw the baseball hard. And obviously, he's on the Yankees. That's why he's owned in 80% of fantasy leagues. But right here, Chapman's an easy drop this week. So that's a few pitches I look to drop here for Week 15 of the fantasy baseball season.